Hello folks, Jason Chrisman, JC's Bees, your Central Ohio beekeeper. Hard to believe it's September. Where did summer go? I remember a real short period of some hot days, and then it seems like right before that it was spring for a little while, and then we had a really muddy winter. And now we're back to September. Fall. Officially fall. Wow. Well, let's talk about Apimaye, which we all know is the Cadillac of beekeeping equipment. What I have here is their new Hive Feeder. We're going to open it up and see what it's all about. Now, what I can tell you is the existing feeder on Apimaye colonies is two pieces. You take off one, you can see half of your frames. You take off the other one, you see the other half of frames. If you're only working half of the colony, you can leave one feeder on there, and you know, that's kind of a nice feature. With this feeder, it's all one piece. So you have to take the feeder off to access your bees in any of the frames. Now, I've had this for a few months, and I want to apologize to Apimaye for it taking me so long to get the video out, but at the same time, kind of almost ideal for the timing. You think about it, it is feeding season. Uh-oh, some goodies fell out. So here it is, folks. Here is the new feeder. Let's see what kind of goodies we got here. We got a cap that goes in the center. This looks like it goes over here. And this looks like it goes over here. And my wife says read the instructions. It's pretty easy to assemble these. They've only got the one position. You can see the groove there. There's a groove on this side. This edge goes down in that groove on both sides. And back here on this edge, there's these little pins. And there's little holes that they go down in. You get them holes lined up, push it down. That's on all the way. Then you would do the same thing on the other end. Get it down in the groove. Push it down on. Throw your lid on. When you're not feeding in the center, I would put this in, and I'd put it in upside down so they're not encouraged to build comb in there. This is what the area looks like though without plastic covers on them. So the bees would come in from the bottom through this slit, and they would come up through here, which there's a little ladder and grooves for them to walk on. They can go down over the edge till they get to the syrup, and then back up and over to take it back into the hive. And this prevents them from being able to exit through the feeder. So you can actually take off your top cover and fill these feeders without having to worry about bees in your face and having to suit up and light your smoker. So that's a huge benefit to the top hive feeder. Just remember, put this on upside down in the summertime or in the spring so they're not encouraged to draw comb here. Of course, when you're feeding in that area, then you would put it on like this and contain it that way. That way when you take your outer cover off, the bees aren't up in your face and are able to exit via the feeder. Another thing I want to say is this acts as your inner cover. So when you're not feeding, this stays on. I've seen a lot of people think they can remove the feeders when they're not feeding, and then they wonder why they get huge chunks of burr comb up in the insulated cover from Apimaye. So yeah, this is your inner cover and your feeder. It's a dual purpose device. Like I said before, it was split down the middle. If you wanted to work the bees on this side, you could take this half off, work those bees. When you're done on this side, you could put this feeder back on, and then remove this half and work your bees on this side. But with this feeder, it's all one piece. So to work the bees in any of your frames, this whole thing has to come off. Now, what they've done here in the center is a whole different idea. And this is so you can put your fondant patties, your pollen patties right here in the center, and the bees can come right up through and get to that source of protein or food. Let's take a closer look here at these ends. They don't seem to be reversible anymore, which is a good thing. There was some confusion on the old style, which I'll show you here in a few minutes. This had a couple different positions it could be in, and that's not the case with these. One position, they're good to go. So that's good. That keeps it some of the confusion down by only having the one position. Now, my main concern with these feeders was using them in northern climates in the winter. And that's because if the bees leave the cluster in the wintertime and come up here to get food, what I've observed a lot of the times is they chill down before they get back to the cluster, and they don't make it all the way back to get warmed back up. So in return, these have always kind of scared me. I didn't want to pull the bees away from the cluster too far and them freeze in position and not make it back to the cluster. Now, by putting this feed hole in the center here where bees can come up through and access fondant, candy board of some sort, or whatever your feeding regimen is. Maybe it's just to lay some newspaper in here and put some dry sugar. That would be an option too. Do the mountain camp method right here in the middle. I kind of like this new idea, just for my first look over on it. And one, idea I would have that may make it even better is if we would pop these off and then get some 1-inch styrofoam board and maybe cut it to position to set over here. Okay, then put your cover back on. Do the same on this side. Fill in that void with some insulation. Now maybe, just maybe, when the bees come up from the cluster and climb through here to eat on the fondant, candy board, dry sugar, whatever it may be, maybe they stay warm enough now to make it back down to the cluster. So now the only concerns, just thinking out of the box here, is if the cluster of bees is down here below and they come up to eat, that seems fine, but where is the moisture going to go? Is it going to also try and wick up through these holes in the center? Sure, on this feeder here, there is the perforated holes all the way around the feeder. Same with the split version. It has these same slits all the way around. But what happens is the bees propolize them off after about a year, and they're no longer vents. It's a solid surface now. And I see that's what's going to happen to this over a period of time. Whether they get them all blocked off this year, by next winter, I bet you they're all propolized off. So that's not going to be really much help for the moisture to go up through. That's going to leave pretty much this only area unless you were to provide an entrance right up against the front of this. That way, as the moisture comes up, it hits and has a way to escape. That might be it. That might just be the answer. And then maybe what you could do to also help is just get you a piece of insulation board and cut it the size of an inner cover and lay it down over top of this. And that would pretty much pancake the food down in the insulation, and they would have the air from the cluster coming up, keeping the bees warm until they return. This just might be something I tried this winter. Let's go open up the colony. I'll show you what's on there now, and we'll switch this over. I don't have any syrup to put in them, but I'll give you a closer look at this and what we've got back here now. If you follow my channel, you might remember that I just recently removed this box, and now you're probably wondering, why is this hive back? Last week, I came out here to get an egg for the wife out of the coop, and when I came out, I noticed a swarm flying onto the property. Pretty significant size swarm. It filled the whole box. So now I've got them back in this box and it's set up, and I'm glad of that because now I get to take this through winter again. So that's what I was hoping in the first place. So this was a swarm I just caught. But then the last 7 days, and I actually seen this swarm fly onto my property, so I guess some of the swarms that I've supplied nature over the years does pay its dividends eventually. I'm gonna have to give them another box here soon. They are actually bringing in some nectar. I've been doing a little bit of open feeding, but I haven't actually used these feeders yet this season. So we'll get it switched out to the new style. Locked right in place. And that's what I say about Apimaye being the Cadillac of hives. They definitely got all the bells and whistles. The pieces and parts locked together. I need to flip this around so the bees don't come up and draw comb in there. Let's take a closer look at these. You can see we got bees on the bottom, so I don't want to smash them, but there's the slits for them to get up into the feeder. This is your feeder cover. And this is the piece I was telling you that causes some confusion. And right now I've got it set for candy, so the bees actually are able to come up into this area. When it's set for sugar syrup, it blocks them off from getting into this area. So what I'm going to do is leave that out, probably make it easier for the bees to realize, hey, we need to go back into the colony. So there, we got it switched out. Those bees will soon realize, hey, we're not in the hive anymore. We need to quit messing around in this spot and go back. So that's a pretty nice feeder, and I'm anxious to get some syrup in it. And the syrup would go in this area and this area, and I'm going to guess it probably holds close to 1 gallon per side. So what I want to do is throw this top cover back on, and you're probably thinking, well, what am I going to do with these old feeders? Well, I want to discuss that now. Let's move into the shade and we'll talk about what you can do with these feeders. So now you've got 2 of these, and you're probably wondering, what in the heck am I going to do with these? Well, it just so happens that one of these feeders fits perfectly on a 5-frame nuke box. The only thing I can see that you might need to worry about is that your lid needs to be deep enough that it covers these perforated edges. That might be the only holdback to it, but I'm pretty excited about that. I just gained 2 5-frame nuke feeders. Or you could take and put them back side by side and just use it for one of your other Langstroth hives. These would fit right on a 10-frame box. So that's pretty cool. So it's kind of a double whammy. You get the new feeder with the new feeding space in the middle, and then you get to take your old feeders and repurpose them. I like that. I like to repurpose stuff. Pretty cool. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get some syrup made up and try that new thing out, and I think I'm gonna cut some insulation board like I recommended and just have it ready for those outside edges when I do go to feed fondant patties this winter. Boy, it gets hot out there in the sun, and it's only up to, I think, 83. But by Labor Day, they're saying we're going to be pushing the lower to mid 90s, so I ain't really looking forward to that when we've had the lower temperatures I've already mentioned. You work outside, boy, it's just unreal how much you can get done in that cooler weather. Kind of felt like a superhero the last couple of weeks, all the stuff I've got done. Sit down in my chair at the end of the day, I'm like, wow, how do they do all that? It's amazing. Apimaye folks, if you're interested in getting one of them new feeders, I'm going to share an affiliate link. It'll pop up probably right over here, maybe right over here. You'll see it. You can use that link. It'll take you right over to Apimaye. You can make your purchase, and by using my link, I do get a small kickback. Now, they're not going to charge you any more for the product. By using my link, you're saying, hey Jason, I like your content and I want to support it. And I appreciate that if you do use the link. Oh man, where'd all the chickens go? They all left me, didn't they? Something else I wanted to mention. Oh, what was it? Well, I guess the important thing to mention is it's definitely time to think about feeding if you're not. 1-to-1, preferably 2-to-1 sugar syrup mixture. These cooler temperatures are telling me it's coming. It's going to get to the point where hives are going to be 55, and once the hives get to that point, the bees aren't going to take cert very well, and your food stores are going to be what they are. Excuse me. So I want to stay ahead of the game and use this opportunity we got right now to be feeding our bees. Hopefully you took August, did some mite treatments. You've got your mites a lot lower now. I'm using the InstaVap, and maybe I'll share a video on that here soon. Really liking that little dude. That's a pretty awesome tool. There was something else I wanted to mention, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. And by now, a lot of you are probably sick of hearing about it, but I would like to invite all of you over to check out Beekeeping Blueprint. There's a lot of conversation that's happened through the week, a lot of sharing starting to happen, and it's very exciting. And I think, you know, for no more than it costs, around a cup of coffee, you can be a part of the community, and it is a lifetime membership. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm going to link a link down below. You can go over and get signed up and come join the community. I hope most of your Labor Day weekend has been good. I hope Labor Day is wonderful. Stay safe, and we'll see you back here next Sunday, folks. Thanks for watching JC's Bees.